Ladies and gentlemen, Brexit continues to be the saga that keeps on giving. Just when you thought we'd exhausted all angles, the United Kingdom is back at it again, seemingly inspired by, of all places, Switzerland. That's right, Switzerland, known for chocolate, watches, neutrality, and a highly complicated, often tedious relationship with the European Union. So is Britain now seriously imitating the Swiss approach, and what does this mean? So grab your tea or your fondue, because today we're diving deep into Brexit's latest plot twist. Back in December 2019, Boris Johnson triumphantly declared Brexit completed with his iconic slogan, "Get Brexit done." And Johnson even insisted on banning the word Brexit from governmental discourse, a bit like Voldemort from Harry Potter, never to be spoken again. But reality had other plans. Fast forward 5 years and Brexit still dominates UK politics. The grand economic boom that Leave campaigners promised? Nowhere to be seen. Instead, the British economy struggles, trade friction has intensified, and immigration, the very issue that fueled Brexit's success, has ironically surged to record highs. Until recently, I must give you that. A recent survey even showed that the majority of Brits now regret the Brexit decision, yet no serious political party dares suggest rejoining the EU. Instead, under Labour leader and Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the UK is inching cautiously towards a kind of Swiss-style arrangement. This diplomatic dance began earlier this year when Starmer attended an EU summit as a guest, something unimaginable during the Conservative era. And recently, Starmer hosted EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Antonio Costa in London, leading to what both sides proudly dubbed a historic deal. But let's pause here. The term historic seems a bit dramatic. This isn't re-entry into the single market or the customs union. Instead, it aims to simplify trade and mobility, reduce customs checks, and streamline regulations. It's meaningful, yes. But groundbreaking? Perhaps not quite. And here's where the Swiss parallels start shining through. Switzerland, not an EU member, operates through a dense network of bilateral agreements covering trade, immigration, and regulatory alignment. Sound familiar? Britain now seems headed toward this pick-and-mix approach, selectively aligning with the EU on critical issues while maintaining overall independence. Take migration, for instance. Starmer's government recently proposed easing travel for young Europeans, a nod to the EU's youth mobility scheme. However, it quickly sparked fierce opposition from right-wing factions who argued this was Brexit betrayal in disguise. And Starmer finds himself walking a tightrope, needing immigration for sectors like healthcare and tech, yet pressured politically to curb numbers. And this echoes Switzerland's own struggles, balancing economic needs against migration tensions. And fishing rights provide another illustrative example. Regaining full control of fishing waters was a core Brexit promise. But the recent deal extends EU fishermen's access to British waters for another 12 years. Pro-Brexit figures like Nigel Farage reacted furiously, accusing Starmer of sacrificing British fisheries. Yet, ironically, British fishermen desperately need smooth EU trade access, given that 70% of their catch is exported there. The fishing industry paradoxically benefits from the very EU ties Brexiteers despise. Sound confusing? Welcome to Brexit Britain. Economically, Britain's food sector particularly welcomes easier trade protocols agreed upon recently. Post-Brexit customs barriers had driven up inflation, causing food prices to soar. Simplifying procedures could ease these pressures, benefiting British supermarkets and consumers alike. Still, the right-wing press remains enraged. The Sun accused Starmer of outright Brexit betrayal, while Tory leader Kemi Badenoch denounced the deal as a humiliating capitulation. Such fiery rhetoric is reminiscent of past Swiss debates, where nuanced trade-offs are often painted in dramatic black and white terms. Yet beyond political theatre, business leaders cautiously welcome the deal. A simplified trade environment is vital, considering the EU remains Britain's largest export market, capturing 40% of its exports. By contrast, trade with the US accounts for only about half that volume. Realistically, then, Britain has little choice but to engage constructively with Brussels. And this reality is strikingly similar to Switzerland's decades-long experience. The Economist recently drew this exact parallel, noting that Switzerland has negotiated tirelessly with the EU for over 30 years. Switzerland's continual negotiations demonstrate that taking back control outside EU structures isn't straightforward, easy, or even necessarily beneficial. Like Switzerland, Britain faces perpetual negotiations, regular diplomatic summits, and constant pressure to maintain regulatory alignment. But what does this imitation mean practically? Take defense cooperation. Recent agreements will allow British firms to participate in EU defense procurement projects. And this mirrors recent Swiss discussions urging greater security alignment with Brussels, highlighting the simple truth: in areas like defense and security, isolation is impractical. British and Swiss experiences converge on the unavoidable need for close collaboration with Europe, no matter how politically inconvenient. Yet, there is an ironic twist. While Britain embraces a Swiss-style approach, the EU itself seems increasingly frustrated by Switzerland's bilateral patchwork. Brussels often criticizes Swiss-style deals for complexity and inefficiency, recently rejecting similar arrangements elsewhere. Thus, Britain's emulation of Switzerland might be exactly what the EU wants to avoid. Brussels prefers comprehensive frameworks over endless bilateral deals. In other words, even the Swiss aren't exactly thrilled with their own model, yet Britain appears eager to follow suit. So why is Britain imitating a model widely seen as flawed? Because full EU re-entry remains politically toxic. A Swiss-style arrangement allows Labour Starmer to rebuild economic bridges without openly betraying Brexit voters. Yet critics argue this incremental approach leaves Britain in diplomatic limbo, neither fully independent nor fully integrated. It risks perpetual negotiations without genuine autonomy. This Brexit light scenario may appease neither side, too aligned for hardcore Brexiteers, yet insufficiently integrated for Remainers. Politically, Starmer navigates turbulent waters. His government risks alienating both Brexiteers who feel betrayed and Remainers who demand deeper integration. Moreover, Britain's internal political fractures further complicate matters, mirroring Switzerland's own regional complexities. Ultimately, this imitation underscores a fundamental Brexit reality. Complete separation from Europe is impossible. Britain's economy, security, and even its food supply chains remain inextricably linked to Europe. And Switzerland recognized this long ago, accepting perpetual negotiations as the cost of partial independence. And now Britain seems set on a similar course, destined for endless diplomacy, incremental deals, and pragmatic compromises. The Swiss model thus represents neither triumph nor tragedy for Britain, but perhaps an inevitable pragmatic response to geopolitical realities. Yet this raises a key question. If Britain increasingly resembles Switzerland, was Brexit truly worth the upheaval? After years of turmoil, economic strain, and political division, Britain appears ironically trapped, adopting the very European model Brexit aimed to escape. So, was Brexit a genuine pursuit of sovereignty or merely an expensive lesson in geopolitical realities? And can Britain handle the perpetual diplomatic balancing act the Swiss have mastered over decades? Only time will tell. But what do you think? Is this Swiss imitation a pragmatic solution or just another Brexit betrayal? So please drop your thoughts in the comments below the video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more deep dives on European politics. Thanks for watching Outside Views, your trusted source for European political insights. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed. And the next video is right here in the end screen, right next to a video from my newest channel, Zootastic. Happy about all your support there too. And on parents' request, there already is also Zootastic for kids on YouTube Kids. Wherever you go, I'll see you there. I'll be back.